Afternoon, good evening. Like we say on this show, it all depends from where you are watching us from. Welcome to The Leader, courtesy of the Evangelical Alliance of Kenya on Hope TV. Tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend to tune in. And in The Leader today, we're very pleased to have with us Bishop Peter Njao.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Mchungaji.
Good to see you too, again.
Yes, time flies.
Time flies.
But for those who do not know you, who is Bishop Peter Njao?
Bishop Peter Njao is a bishop of Joy Miracle Ministries, and we are based in Umoja, but we have churches across the country and beyond. I'm also the chairman of Evangelical Alliance of Kenya, Nairobi County. I think those really define me. I'm married.
Yes.
I have one wife and one daughter, and I take care of 65 kids as adopted children.
Wonderful. The topic today, the effective Christian leader.
Yes.
Very close to your heart.
That's right.
In your journey of leadership, when did you receive the call, or did you apply for it?
Well, when you talk about a Christian leader, and for me, when I got saved, even before I got saved, I found that I had some leadership roles to play. Because the first church I went, when I went, the Sunday school teacher chose me to be the one to be taking the books and to arrange how things. So my leadership began there. And I grew up in the leadership as a person who knew that God had called me to serve him. And I was taught, even in the Sunday school, about David, about Joseph, about Jesus. And I started developing that kind of mindset that I'm called to be a leader, and I might end up being a leader among other people. And so when I got saved in Form 2, third term, in the secondary school, I went to Christian Union, and after some few weeks, I was put in a group of Bible study, and I was appointed a leader. So, and then I continued like that. I became the Christian leader, chairman, and then from there, I continued, and I've continued in leadership to this day. And so, and the time when my leadership was confirmed was when I was in a convention, Christian convention. And we about 2,000 young people in a convention. And a man of God came, called Dan Odhiambo from Kisumu, he was preaching there. And he said, where's that short young man who is organized? Because I was in charge of all organization for the convention. Planning where people are sleeping, where they are going to eat, to register and all that. So he said, bring that young man here. And he said, God has given you the gift of administration. He confirmed. Another time I was in a conference here at Nairobi, at KICC. Maurice Eruro had come, and we are going to give an offering. And a man of God says, come here. God tells me, you're going to be a great leader. So in my journey, that has been affirmed by many people, telling me that God has called you to lead other people. And for your information, I've never contested for any leadership. I'm always either appointed or elected or chosen. So to me, I believe this is total divine in my life. And I thank God for that because it's a privilege. It's not something that everybody happens to be a leader. But I thank God that he found me fit to be a leader. And so to answer your question, that has been my journey. That's how I discovered. And when I discovered that, I started studying people in the Bible. How did they lead? What were their strengths and their pitfalls? What was their distinct marks that they could be remembered for, their legacy? And so I decided that the person that I would imitate and follow is Jesus Christ. He stood for me as one of the greatest leaders who has ever lived. And I believe by following Christ, that's why I'm a leader today. I follow the footsteps of Jesus. Am I saying that I'm perfect in every decision I make? No. But I can tell you 99% of my decisions are based on what Jesus. I look at the way Jesus was looking at the problems and the way he dealt with those problems. And that is the way I also deal with those problems. Of course, times change, and you have to change with your, the last time I was here, I was talking about mindset. So the mindset that you have, what is in your mind, with your spirit, helps you to guide you in the right decision making. Because leadership is solving problems and giving guidance. I believe that is what has helped me, has given me joy to be that Christian that I can look back and say, I thank God that God called me to be a leader.
Now, leadership comes in at various levels.
Yes.
And we'll get to where you said leading leaders is not the easiest of things.
It's not the easiest of the things. That is the hardest of all. And I've told them many times.
Yes.
Yes. But let me say, for you to lead people, you must understand their psychology. Mm-hmm. You must understand the environment around them. You must understand what is their motivation. Because many times what we do not study the behavior of people. So in my leadership, what I've done, every time I'm given a role, I take 6 months to study the people I'm going to lead. So that even those difficult people, I know how to accommodate them, how to bring them on, and we rally all of them in the same vision. And I think that is where I would say, because Jesus, the Bible says, when Jesus knew what was in their heart,
Yes.
when he knew what was in their heart, a good leader will seek to know what is in the hearts of the people. And that's where the gift of discernment comes in. You have to discern. You must be a very good leader to discern the direction people want to go or the direction you want to take the people. Because sometimes you may be a leader of the people, and those people, they have taken a certain direction. And I can give an example. When we wanted to change in Kenya during KANU time, it was wrong for any leader to imagine that people wanted KANU to remain in power. So I remember one time I was asked by one of the presidential candidates when we went to pray with them. And he looked directly in my eyes and said, do you think we are going to win? And do you think God wants, what is God saying? I said, I don't think God has spoken to me about this. I'm very realistic. I don't like spiritualizing things. I said, I do not believe that God has told me who is going to win, but I think God wants change. That one for sure, I know God wants change. And I told them because God wants change and the people want change, whoever is going to lead them to that change is going to win the election. So sometimes we, as leaders, we need to discern. We need to look at the signs. What are the signs that God is giving us? What direction are we going? And so, for one to lead other leaders, you must ask yourself, why are these people here? And their leaders, where do you want to take them? Do you have something unique, something special, something very spiritual that they need from you? And have you heard from God? And so I believe as an effective Christian leader, that's where we should be able to base our knowledge. Because at the end of the day, you must move people from point A to point B to the next level in their lives. And you must give them what they need or what they may need. You have to ask yourself, what is that one thing that they may need? And so you must look for it. You must look for it. And where do you look for it? From God. And he has given us a very good manual, which is the Bible. Yes, and the Bible is the best manual I know of leadership, that no one can dispute it. You can't challenge it. It comes always on top. And so for me, in my journey in leadership, those are some of the things that I look at. For me to be effective, and I can tell you, in any space I've been given, I thank God. I've never left and people felt like they were very tired with me. They always keep telling me, can you give us another year? I'm the one who decides this is the time to leave. Because as a leader also, you don't want to stay until everybody is bored with you. No, you want to leave people when they still need you, so that at least they will ever remember you for what you are helping them to achieve.
So then one would ask the question, yes, there is that, like you are suggesting here, that is divine in terms of, you being identified as a leader, Christian leader.
Yes.
And to what extent is Christian leadership nature or nurture?
Well, it's a process. In life, everything is a process. And so, as I said, you go through many other processes of nurturing that leadership. Because, in Christian leadership, we look at values. So you have to nurture certain values. And those ones, you must have somebody who holds your hand. You cannot just imagine, even Jesus himself, he sat under other people. So for you to learn, to understand leadership, you must go through that process and that's why we go for training. But training is just part of it because that's the head knowledge. You need experience. And if you see Jesus, how did Jesus train his people? He told them, come, follow me, and I will make you. So the making came when they followed him. They saw him heal the sick. They saw him teaching. They saw him rebuking. He sat down with them and he told them, these problems, you are supposed to deal with them like this. And so that was the nurturing of the disciples of Jesus Christ to take over. And Jesus knew that I'm going to leave these guys with a very hard work to reach the whole world. And so in our walk in leadership, you must have mentors. And good mentors. People who have been tested, tried, and proven. They have something to show. Because not everybody can be a mentor. Not everybody can guide you. And so, in terms of nurturing that leadership, you need people around you. You need to put, like, for example, in my life, I have put different categories of people. Now, there are those I call my mentors. These are people who have been in leadership for a long time. There's our wazees. Some of them have retired. Some of them are still, but not inactive. I go and sit down with them. And I tell them, I would like to hear your story. Tell me, what are the challenges? How did you solve your problems when you faced them? And as I listen to them, I gain some wisdom. I gain knowledge. I gain understanding. I become a better person. There are those whom I call my contemporary friends, people who can encourage me where I am. I go to them and I tell them I am facing this problem. How would you think would you solve the problem? And as we take a cup of coffee, they're sharing with me, I'm getting what I wanted. There are those that I look down, they're below me, and I go to them and I said, I would ask them, what are the problems do you think you're going through and I'm not understanding? So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to nurture those values, those skills, I'm trying to develop those tools that will help me in the journey of my leadership. And so I think that's how, personally, I believe for one to nurture leadership, you must have those three categories of people in your life, where you look up, you look in the middle, and you look down there. And when you put all those into place, it helps you to walk a very good journey, because you learn from the elders, you learn also from your people that are together with you, but you learn also from those that you are leading down there. So that way, I believe. And of course, as I said, that's why we go to Bible school. So you get, once you get that head knowledge, you need now to go to practice. And that's what Jesus did. When he sat with them in secret places, in houses, he taught them in parables. But when he went out, it was not parables, it was practical. Let us implement what I taught you so that we can see it's doable. And I believe that helps any effective leader if you want to become an effective leader.
And what is it, did they really, would you then suggest that all those who are called understood his mission? Were they aligned to what it is that he came to do?
Not really. Not everybody who has been called. Let's take, for example, for Jesus. There was a guy like this guy who betrayed him. He did not understand the mission of Christ. And that's why he went there the other way. And even among the disciples, if you look at them and their history, how many carried on with the mission of Christ, even after his death? And that's where you see, not everybody gets, even when you get the call, not everybody understands the mission of Christ. And it's simple. The mission of Christ, he said, go into the world. And he told them, go and teach them to be my disciples. And tell them whatever you've observed me do. And then when you look at the other scriptures, he says, follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. He says, my sheep follow me, and they hear my voice. So all these are not just empty statements Jesus was saying. They meant something. He was just telling them, I want you to do the mission that brought me here. Why did I die on the cross? Is to change humanity. Is to save humanity. Is to transform the life of people. Is to give them hope. Is to give them everlasting life. Is to solve problems in their midst. That's why I'm calling you to go and help the world. Go and help the world. So, but many leaders don't understand that. They don't understand the call God has called them. And that's why sometimes when I find leaders who are fighting among themselves about their members, I'm wondering, do you know why you're called? You are not called to fight for members. No, you are called to lead people to a destiny of hope. Jesus himself said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the way. So which way should we follow? The way of truth. And when you become a man who speaks the truth, I don't know whether our deputy president speaks all the truth, because he says he's a man of the truth. I don't know. But with time we'll judge. But I want to say that Jesus was a truthful man. He spoke the truth. And for you to be a good leader, that's one thing that we should be able to, as one of the values that we should be able to live for, the truth. Seeking the truth at all cost. Let me give an example. I had a church here in Nairobi when I came, because I come from Kitale. And when I came in Nairobi, I found the big boys of Nairobi. They said, kukua mashambani hawiki mjini. So they wanted to teach me life. And so we began a church with 2 other brothers. I went to Arusha. When I came back, I found one of them had declared he's the senior pastor. And I was the senior pastor. What was I supposed to do? Is it to fight? So I thought about it, I prayed about it, and I came to church and I said, brethren, I think my time is over to be here. We cannot fight over leadership. And I would like to give my brothers space so that they can also demonstrate their leadership and lead you. And I stepped down. I went back to where I was brought up in Kitale. I went seeking God's next direction. God told me to come back in Nairobi but not in that church, to go and begin another church. Sad to say that my brothers were not able to carry with that church for the next 6 months. It was gone because we were still fighting among themselves and people left. So that's why I'm saying truth should always guide us. We should have values. That sometimes we are ready to leave something for a better value or a better suggestion or a better opportunity. And sometimes, even when you're walking out of these issues, you really don't know where you're going, but God knows. He told Abraham, I want you to leave your people, and I'll go to a place I'll show you. Sometimes God doesn't give you the clear picture of where you're going, but just go. Jesus said, go. Just go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And challenges abound because, of course, in all this space, even as you're seeking to fulfill his mission,
Yes.
the evil one is not absent.
He's around. He's an old guy in the game.
He's the old guy in the game.
Yes.
And he can mulika you and say, no, Peter,
Yes.
you are being effective.
Yes.
So I'm going to put hurdles. What are some of the hurdles that you had to overcome?
Good. That's a good question. There's a time as the director for Global Peace Initiative in charge of Africa. And I was given a man who was my boss to train me. He decided not to because he wanted me to fail. I said that you cannot fight your superior and you don't have to show resentment.
No.
I told God to give me wisdom on how to interact with him and build a relationship with him. So we remained very good friends, but I decided to seek wisdom from other quarters. Remember what I said?
Yes.
Looking for people who can mentor you and go to them and tell them, I have this challenge. How do I face this challenge? I had never, and I had no dream to lead a global movement. And this was not really, it was to deal with the challenges of Africa. We were going to places where there had been war. We went to Burundi, to Rwanda, Ivory Coast, in Ethiopia here. We were going to places, Southern Sudan, Liberia. We were going to places where there were huge problems, huge challenges. And so I needed to have been trained to deal with such a crisis. But the person who was supposed to train me chose not to. So I went to the Bible and I said, how did Jesus deal with these problems and the disciples? So I studied the way, whenever they had a problem, how did they solve with it? And I remember when there was an uproar, when these women were complaining in the book of Acts, what the disciples did, the apostles, they say, let us not leave the ministry of the word and prayer, but let's choose men full of wisdom, full of the Spirit, full of faith to be upon this, and let them solve this problem. So wisdom is key in dealing with challenges. And that wisdom must come with an informed knowledge. That's why I went seeking for information from other people. How did they deal with that problem? So challenges have come. But there's one scripture that I love so much in the Bible, and that is Luke chapter 1, verse 37. And what does it say? It says, with men it's impossible, but with God all things are possible.
All things are
so
possible.
I always know there is always a way out. Where God comes in, there is always a way out. You can imagine, I went and bought books, and I read books of people who are dealing, and there's one particular book that really helped me in making executive decisions. And so I started learning those skills and looking at the Bible, looking at the people, the men in the Bible. Look at Joseph when there was a crisis in Egypt. How did he help them to solve that problem? So I looked at all those problems, and then I saw the way they solved their problems. I employed the same methods, same strategies, and I overcome those leadership challenges. And so I would say that the Bible has got enough tools and skills to help us to solve the problems. You look at the crisis the way it is. First, number one, understand the problem. Understand the problem. Once you understand the problem, is it demonic? Is it social? Social, I mean, is it brought about by human beings?
Yes.
Demonic, is it the devil, the old guy we talked about?
Yes.
Or is it just mistakes? Even your own mistakes could pose a challenge. And so I look at the problem first so that I can know how do I deal with this challenge. Study the problem, understand the problem, ask the right questions, then provide the right answers to that challenge. Then that way I'm able to overcome. And of course, prayer is key.
Yes.
Prayer is key. Prayer is key. That one, for me, even some of the people that even when I was going around Africa, some president had to tell me, they would call me aside and say, I am facing this problem, I don't know what to do. And I don't want people to know I don't know what to do. So what do I do? And I would tell them, this is the way you should be able to deal with this problem. And I remember one president, I told him, call for prayer, fasting for 3 days, the whole country. And you lead the prayer.
Yes.
Call the clergy. And he told me, I don't think people will accept this. He said, you just call the prayer. When he announced, the whole country, everybody was excited.
Wow.
Out of that, we found a solution where the rebels and the opposition and the government did not want to sit down. Even Nelson Mandela went there. He could not solve the problem. UN was there, could not solve the problem. African Union could not solve the problem. In fact, after that, they were asking me, even the press people were asking me, how did you manage to do that? I said, I have one who understands all the problems, the beginning to the end, and he has solutions. And that's why I say, with God, all things are possible.
All things are possible.
Yes.
All things are possible with God. And there's a certain attitude then, even you as an individual,
Yes.
that you possess, that you have. What quality or what attitude of heart would you suggest as a key ingredient? Because there are those who would be so convicted that they will tell others, no, I've been told I know it is me, so you must accept me. Maybe that SMS or that memo from the divine memo only came to him.
Yes.
It was not copied to the rest.
I think there are people, and I think that's one of the mistakes that people do. You should never think that you are the only one who is there and able to solve the problem. Jesus was very, very, very universal in his thinking. He looked at things globally. He looked life as very dynamic and vast. And so the attitude I have is one, is that I, Peter Njao, I don't have solution for every problem. And so I can also get those solutions or those issues or answers from other people. I'm not an island. I wasn't created alone. I don't live alone. And so I have this attitude in me that my friend could be having a better solution than mine. And if his is the best, why don't I adapt it? And that's what I do. Normally, when I chair the meeting, I listen to everybody. I listen to everybody. And then I pick what is good here, what is good here, what is good. So when I make the final answer, I'm giving everything that everybody will accept because they contributed towards it. And I believe that is the attitude we should have as leaders, that we do not have a monology for, we don't have that power, the ability to know everything, even if we are spiritual. Even if you heard from God, you don't have a monopoly of knowledge. No. All of us, we are gifted in different ways. And God speaks to us in a different, or about the same thing. And so we should ask ourselves, do I need to consult? Yes. Do I need to ask questions? Yes. Does it make me look stupid? No. It makes me look wiser. Because by asking, I'll get the right answers. Or I'll get something. You know, you can ask somebody and somebody will give you an answer that you think is a very wrong answer. So you think, then I'm right. It confirms whatever you are thinking is right. And so consulting is good. And helping yourself to understand those, the way you have. So that attitude of saying, I don't have the monopoly of all answers, of all knowledge, of all wisdom is good. Number two, you should always have an attitude of positive attitude towards any problem and anybody. Even those who tell you what is perceived to be foolish. In that foolishness, there is some wisdom. Because you can learn not to do or not what to say, and you choose the other way. And so for me, that's the attitude I have always had, that I'm not an island. I need everybody else, and I need to listen to other people. I need to gain from other people experiences, knowledge, information. And number two, I believe that together with other people, we are more stronger. We are more stronger. So if I listen to you, listen to somebody else, you make me a better leader, stronger, and even more knowledgeable in terms of information. And so that's the attitude I have. And I'm always learning. I'm always willing to learn. And also, I accept rebuke, even among the people I lead.
It's not easy.
Yes, it's not easy, but a good leader, you should be able to expect that. Let somebody come and tell you, here is wrong. And don't get personal. They're not doing it because they hate you. They are only actually, I like people who are critical of me. So long as they're telling me something, I will appreciate it. I'll look at it and say, okay, they're helping me to think better, to sharpen the skills of my way of dealing with these problems. And so, in fact, some of my critics, I like buying them a cup of coffee so that they can tell me all the wrong things they think about me, so that I can correct on the way as I move ahead. Yes.
And when you're confronted with a situation or you're leading a team, should leaders speak last? Because, you know, sometimes when you speak first, just by virtue of the office or the person, or you are who you are.
Yes.
Others may then say, Bishop Peter has spoken.
No, there are ways, when you're leading a group or a team, number one, you must bring the subject. But you don't finalize the subject. There's a way you introduce the topic.
Yes.
Give the agenda, and then you keep quiet. You allow them now to contribute ideas they bring in. When they are doing that, what you're doing, you are now shifting through those ideas. So at the end, when you give your verdict, everybody will agree with you, and voting will become easy.
And it's time to take a break because we want to get some wisdom from Bishop Peter.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Asante sana.
Asante.
Kama vile mashua baharini, mizani imekwisha wasili. Mara hii kila Alhamisi.
Msoleta kabisa, mpenzi mtazamaji, mpenzi msikilizaji wa Mizani.
Tungependa Wakenya waende kwenye nchi ambazo tuko na mikataba nao.
Kulikuwa na Raila Odinga, kukawa na Wajakoya pia. Mbona hongeunga mkono?
Tupe mauzani wa masuala ibuka na chupukayo toka kila pembe ya Kenya na ukanda huu wa Afrika. yawe mambo au vijimambo, jiongea na kutaarifu na kuarifu zako fikra. Kila Alhamisi saa 1 machweo kwenye runinga ya Hope TV.
Ni tamu.
Tukutane mizani.
Hope TV is where you look and live, with an excellent selection of the best Christian programming consisting of local and international content, of inspirational stories, talk shows, Bible commentary, youth, health shows, children entertainment, contemporary gospel music, extended times of worship, live broadcast, news, movies, drama, Christian ministry programs, and so much more. Hope TV is another quality service from Christ is the Answer Ministries, with over 45% of authentic and credible local content every week. Hope TV is a sister station to Hope FM, Kenya's leading Christian radio station, with footprints across the country. Tune in to Hope TV, where you look and live.
Welcome back. Welcome back to The Leader. And just before the break, we're discussing how leadership is inclusive.
Yes.
And we're just about to delve into the other traits or values of effective Christian leadership. And here I'm thinking of what role does empathy play?
Good. I think as a leader, one should always have the same attitude Jesus had. What was that attitude? That of compassion, that of feeling mercy. Here are people who have been listening to you the whole day. They've been following you for days, and they're hungry. Do you send them home? Go and look for food? That's what the disciples did. But what does Jesus say? They go to him and they say, tell them to sit down and give them food to eat. They say, no, we don't have food. He says, no, just look for it.
Yes, what do you have?
Yes. So, and I believe that that's where many leaders fail. Sometimes we are not guided by the values that drove Jesus Christ in looking at the life of a human being. And I believe that because Jesus came to die for us. And so the question is, are many leaders willing to die for anybody? So that they develop that kind of attitude and values in them. Jesus knew that I have come to deal with every aspect of humanity. And so, for me, compassion plays a big role in terms of leadership. Because you must be guided by the principle that we are human beings who need the mercy of God. We are leaders that need to be listened to. We need somebody to listen to our cry. We need somebody who can listen to our stories. We need somebody who can listen to our failures. And therefore, such a values come handy when you're a leader. You have the ability. Listening is a skill. And many people don't listen. Sometimes even when you're telling people their story, even before you tell them the story, they want to pretend they know what you're going to do.
They've already concluded.
Yes, and that puts people off. Right now, I'm doing a course. Somebody asked me yesterday, what are you doing in school? I'm doing a course on humanitarian diplomacy. And I've discovered that a lot of leaders do not care about the suffering of the people. They want to use the suffering of the people for their own gain. But Jesus used the suffering of the people to bring joy, happiness, and peace in their life. Compassion. So I believe that those are the values we should have. love is one of the greatest value that one should always hold. And what did Jesus talk about? He said, if you love your neighbor as yourself, then you are his disciple. So love plays a big role in terms of leadership. You have to love the people you lead. You cannot hate the people you lead. If you have to lead a group of people, a team of people, community, a nation, an organization, love should be your principle. And what is love? When you look at from the Bible, love does not look at mistakes of people. Instead, love covers multitudes of sin. You should have a place where you can bring people down and sit down with them, listen to their stories. Why are they failing? Why are they having these challenges? Why did they make that wrong decision? And only love can help you to do that. Because love, because you love somebody, you will lay your life down for them. What Jesus did, he said, if you really love me, you will lay your life down for others. So there's that place where you show empathy and you want to see, people want to know you, that you care and you really care. And you're not using their problems for you to benefit, which many secular leaders use. Our politicians, what do? Every year they come and say, we'll give you water. Have they brought water? They say, next time you elect us, utaweka pesa kwa mfuko. Do they do that? Those are some of the things we look at. And so when you get a leader who cares, who loves, and who's ready to die for you or to put their life in line because of you, then they will get the right, they will make you feel comfortable in their leadership. They will make you feel to belong to that relationship, because life is a journey and we serve people through relationships. So I believe those are very important values that we should always impress and have them within us for us to lead the people.
I'm just looking at the book of Mark, chapter 10, verse 45, which speaks or talks about Jesus coming as a servant. And behoving his followers to be likewise. So they don't come to lord it over the others.
Sure.
And to what extent, in your experience, have you observed servant leadership?
Actually, I think that is, I would say that is my philosophy in leadership, to be a servant. In fact, I keep on telling people, I'm not your boss, I'm your servant. I'm here to serve you. And so, when you look at Jesus, how did he teach that? He told them to sit down, took a towel, went to wash them. Their dirty, dusty feet.
Yeah.
For you to be a good leader, you must be a servant at heart. A servant at heart. You should be guided that you are supposed to serve these people. And so that, in fact, a lot of good leaders are servants of the people they lead. They do not see themselves as bosses. Anytime you see yourself as a boss, even in an organization, you start becoming a dictator. And you start becoming this person who doesn't want to listen to everybody, and everybody should listen to you, because you know everything. You're the Alpha and Omega. When you reach there, you are no longer a good leader. And you'll make a lot of mistakes. And I believe the reason why Jesus did that, he brought himself to their level. They could now understand that this man is just like us. No wonder when he died, they never became bosses. But you remember, just before he died, there's some There's a lady who came and said, hey, in your kingdom, I have 2 sons.
Yes.
And I want them to be big guys. One to the left and the other one to the right.
To the right.
What did Jesus say? He says, the one who wants to be great
Must be
in my
servant.
kingdom must be a servant of all. In fact, for you to solve the people's problem, become a servant. Because you'll understand where the shoe hurts most. You'll understand where the pain is. And you'll be able to come up, and even people can volunteer information in helping you to solve that problem. And so servant leadership is one of the greatest, and is guided by love, compassion, faith, courage, and sacrifice. Yes.
And of course, in leadership, you have resources.
Yes.
Being a steward, a good steward of resources, not being wasteful.
Yes.
To what extent, then, would you find you've adhered to that?
Yeah, and that's where many of our leaders fail. There's one thing, I don't know, because you asked me earlier what values I hold dear. There's one thing I made up in my mind, that I don't want to deal with things that I know I'm not competent in dealing with. And so one of the things I've ever done in my leadership, because I don't like dealing with money, because sometimes I'm very generous, I can go out of my way and do some things with money, what it was not meant for. I have chosen very strong accountants. And I tell them, don't let me sign anything you think is not intended for. And so that has helped me. And so for me to be a good steward, having people around me who have got financial skills in terms of managing resources helps me to be a better leader. Because then I'm not making a decision alone. I'm making with their advice. And that advice is not made by one man. We sit down, we talk about it, then we say, do we think this is going to? So the resources we have, we manage them prudently and wisely and to the benefit of the people we lead. And that, I've never had a scandal where money is involved or resources. When I was leading global peace, I was dealing with huge amounts of money. Just like in Ethiopia, when I went there, I was able to manage 16 million US dollars. How did I do that? Even if it was somebody else, he could have left there and come back. I remember one time a leader told me, he said, you're very foolish.
Why?
God has put you at the center of resources. You should come out there a millionaire. Was that a good advice?
Definitely not.
I told you, sometimes people will give you advice to destroy yourself.
To destroy you.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
But you have to listen. And he was an elder. Yes. And he gave me examples of what he has been able to do. But when I listened to him, I said, if I do that, will people ever trust me again? And so I have learned to utilize every resource that comes to me in the best way to help the people I'm leading or the organization I'm leading or where I am. Use that money for the purpose it's intended to. I don't like explaining issues that I could have controlled by my own ability. So instead of going to explain or to be put in a panel to be questioned, why did you do this? I like working with experts, with people, professionals in that sector, so they can be able to advise me, and I take the advice. And that has helped me in managing all the resources that come at my disposal.
Leading by example is a bar that very many of us fall short. Has there ever been a time when you'd have felt, maybe in hindsight, I could have done it a bit different?
Yeah, of course. As I said, life is a process and it's a learning school. Every day Sometimes when you sit down at the end of the day, you look back. How did you make the decisions? What did I say when I was standing before people? What decision? How did I make that decision? And so sometimes I've sat down and I said, I think this one I could have done it differently. For example, there's a time I was talking to the young people and I told them something, later I regretted. I shouldn't have told them that. And I said I should have done it differently, not the way I told them. And it pained me because some of them took me very serious about that. Those are some of the things you look back. A good leader is the one who evaluates himself. At the end of the day, at the end of your time, as a good leader, always look back, evaluate yourself, your steps, your decisions, your character. And for information, a lot of people who know me, they call me Mr. Integrity, because that's what I run. My platform is integrity. And so, an integrity calls you to look at yourself critically. What are those things that you've done so that you don't repeat a mistake? Because they say only a fool repeats a mistake twice. So you have to look back and say, how did I deal with my brother? How did I make that decision? What did I say? Even in preaching. When I go back to my office, I'll sit down and say, how did I preach? Sometimes I'll go through the tape, say, I should not have said that. So next time I'll not say it. Because there's somebody who might quote you and say, you said something. And if you have time to correct it, it's also good to correct. I believe that humility is a sign, it's not a weakness.
The strength.
It's a strength. And a good leader is the one who is humble enough to say, I was sorry. I was wrong here, and I'm sorry. And I would like to correct my ways in that. So I believe that, yes, there are times I've come and I looked back and I said, I shouldn't have done that. But that has also given me an opportunity to show other people a leader is a human being. Yes. It's not a supernatural being. No, we all have our weaknesses, but we complement them by being humble enough to admit that this was wrong. Even in the church, personally, even in leadership, personally, when I get late, I'll tell the people, no, today there was no jam. I overslept. That's why I'm late. Please forgive me. I don't want to give excuses and blame other issues or other people for my own mistakes. Yeah. And that makes me to improve, to correct what is correct. I can be able to correct and also to improve on my weaknesses. Yeah.
Should church leaders have term limits?
That's an old, very challenging question because I've been asked that many times. But let me say this. I told you I have some mentors.
Yes.
One of my mentors is Dr. Jessica Mao of PCA, the former moderator.
Yes.
A sweet old man with a lot of wisdom. So one day I asked him, at what time do you think I should exit the stage? And he looked at me, he said, as a servant of God, there is nothing like a retirement because God still needs you. But in terms of leadership, in leading people, there's a time limit. When you think you have reached a place where you don't have something new to offer, you don't have anything new to offer. And you know, we go through life, we go through phases, we go through seasons, we go through different changes, generations. So you can't say, the first generation I began with, I'm still going to serve even the fourth generation. Like now, most of us, we don't understand a lot of this technology. The world is now driven by technology. And it's a challenge to many of our leaders. So you reach a place where you feel that I have done my bit, I've done my best. Let me give other people a chance to continue. But in terms of call of God, that does not expire. That goes with you to eternity.
Do you become intentional, even from where you sit as a leader, amongst those that you lead? Do you become used of God in helping people, be identified as leaders or nurturing them?
Yes.
Or do you just wait until it happens?
No. Personally, I believe in mentoring. And right now, even right now, there are so many leaders I'm mentoring because I would like to, when I come out of the leadership in EAK as Nairobi chair, I want to leave a legacy of proper leadership, which can be carried on, because I'm the pioneer of the Nairobi leadership as EAK in Nairobi County, because we did not have a Nairobi County. And so when I was asked by Bishop Makarioki and other pastors to lead, so I told them I'll give them 1 year, but I'm still here. And so I believe in mentoring. I believe in working with people. I believe in talking to people. I believe in sitting down. I believe in giving them responsibility, and then they come back. I listen to their challenges. So I believe the best way to pass on leadership is what Jesus did. He walked with his disciples. He called them, he chose them, he trained them, and left the responsibility to them. Carry on the mandate. I'm going back where I came from. And as I told you when we were beginning, 11 men, well-trained, well-equipped, with skills to lead people, to mobilize people. Today, we have a church across the globe. Maybe we have 2 billion people who are Christians, courtesy of 11 men that were mentored by Jesus.
Indeed.
Yes.
What a show. We thank you, Bishop Peter.
Thank you so much, Edmund.
And indeed, effective Christian leadership is not just about us, but being intentional. Thank you for the insights. And indeed, like you say, the call is divine. We thank you too for the privilege of your time. Let's do this next week, same time. Until then, God bless.
God bless.